It bottomed out actually the day after Japan Times announced they got me with 6 gag orders. They come out, we got 'em! Like I was Saddam Hussein or Osama bin Laden or something. We got 'em. There's like 1,600 medias came after me. We got 6 gag orders. It's hilarious. Primary reason for the dismal performance is they're monsters. Since then, the radioactive fuel has fallen in protracted slump, and the day after they announced that they convicted me with 6 gag orders, Japan Times, uranium hit bottom price of $16 a pound, the lowest it's ever seen, right? That was the day after they announced I was convicted. The bottom fell out that day. The day before it was like $28 a pound. The next day it hit 16. Because the world knew, right, that the one person on the planet, you know, we're the only actual anti-nuclear talk show on the planet. Ever. Since then, the radioactive fuel fallen to protracted slump because of sharp decline in the use of nuclear power across the globe, across the entire planet. Instead of saying around the planet, they went across the globe as if the world was flat. In wake of Fukushima, there's been a concerted push. Don't go there. In the wake of Fukushima, it's a concerted push to phase out nuclear power across the globe. It's around the globe, stupid. It's the Motley Fool, so what do you expect? Been a concerted push to phase out, as if it was all my fault or your fault. Though the world recognized how evil nuclear was and started phasing out nuclear. It's not like they just like, oh, well, we got a meltdown, it's time to, the hell with that, we can't have that, might as well close them. No, they understood now the gig was up. There was around 50 nuclear reactors under construction globally right now, but many are to replace the existing plants that have reached the end of their productive life. Now, others may never be completed due to the growing pressure across the world, aka around the world, to phase out nuclear power. Awesome. The industry's insane. The nuclear regulatory agencies are paid for by these people. Their job is to cover this up. They're the people that done it in the first place. They further called on the government to publicly ask nuclear powers for compensation, at the very least. Yeah, we need worldwide Hague organization to deal with these criminals. And let's talk about Chernobyl. Hi, everybody. Photos and videos, animals in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, are living surprisingly well. So you always see these stories show up where they talk about, oh, the animals, there's all kinds of animals. There's always great big migratory animals. Migratory animals are going to go through this area. They don't know any difference. They can't read the sign, keep out. So they show wolves, a lot of wolves, right? I'll get out of the way for some, make a bag and get out of the way. We'll just shoot through a lot of this. So they show all these big animals in the abandoned parts of the zones. And they show real grainy footage of Chernobyl and helicopters. You know, all 600 pilots died, right? At Chernobyl, 600 pilots. So they find geese, which are migratory, and all of a sudden now it's thriving. This is the increase up to 1/2 or more times. So now approximately 70% of the area is forest. If you talk about large mammals, it's really good habitat because it's wild territory. So this is apologists, by the way. the very wild spots along the border with Belarus. Belarus has orphanages. We'll get to that coming up. Especially these very wide, wild spots. Many different water sources, lakes and rivers and springs. So they show big animals and they claim life is thriving there. Like it's desperation, see? They don't abandon this for something to do. And so pictures of wolves is not rehabilitated with nuclear wasteland, okay? They're migratory animals. And they're going to find their way into abandoned places because that's what wild animals do. And if you see some animals in a nuclear wasteland, it doesn't mean it recovered. It just means wild animals can't read. The fauna of the Chernobyl exclusion zone does surprisingly well, while insects do worse. So, like, they're surprisingly well that plants are surviving. That's an incredible statement, see? It gets worse. 3 decades after Chernobyl, it's 3.5, the world's worst nuclear accident. So to call Chernobyl the world's worst nuclear accident is an incredible betrayal. It's an unimaginable betrayal. Let me see if I can find it. For instance, the reactor cores was, who knows really, right? Say it was 1,500 tons. Does that look like 1,500 tons to you? If he was real, you could never, first off, your camera can't work. Second off, you die. That's Medusa. Third off, without a 4-foot thick suit on, you can't get within a football field of Medusa. And that's not thousands of tons, okay? That's not even a ton. And if you're not familiar, that's supposed to be the melter reactor core. They've been parading this picture all over the place, never with that guy in it. It's the same picture, but someone photoshopped him in there to confuse those who don't know any better. And then to call it the world's worst nuclear accident, Chernobyl was a single reactor. It was 1/100th the sizes of the Fukushima reactors. And Fukushima had 4 reactor buildings disintegrate with decades of reactor cores in them disintegrate. And so we constantly see that exact connotations, which means it's written by the nuclear industry and the journalists at this media put their name on it. See? Life signs are back in the exclusion zone. And by the way, the exclusion zone, as you'll see coming up in a little while, is right around the planet. The Chernobyl exclusion zone has become a refuge for surprisingly sustainable flora and fauna. Surprisingly, the plants can survive. Brown bears and wolves and bisons and deer and elk and beavers and foxes and badgers and wild boars, and raccoons, and 200 species of birds. We got studies prove all this is absolutely lies. It's also home to a number of fish, worms, and bacteria. And look, he's hand feeding a wolf. And that's not a very healthy looking wolf, by the way. Unlike large carnivores and other large growth animals, the number of insects and spiders in the area has decreased significantly. Where are the insects? And a 2009 study showed that the higher the radiation levels in certain area around a disaster site, the lower the invertebrate populations in those areas. That's at the very end, right? They are all mutants. But leading up to that, you get nothing but song and dance. Organic Slant had put up a video, and he got the usual suspects, the trolls. In fact, he's been hammered by, this is Craig from He uses this account to attack me and Kevin Blanche. But what he ends up doing is he sends a lot of people to my site and Kevin's site, right? And quite a lot of people, after seeing and listening to him, looked me up and ended up donating to me. So we thank Craig. Craig says no one died in Germany due to Chernobyl's radiation. Really. 600 pilots died, for starters. That's Harvard University. And so Organic Slant says, show someone who had died from Chernobyl. Looks like you can't show any deaths there either, can you? Organic Slant puts down Chernobyl heart. Can't wait for Quag war. Can't wait for Craig with NukeLiar denial syndrome. But I notice in some comments he don't reply when he's wrong. And he didn't reply to that. So Chernobyl heart. You go look up that documentary. Watch this lady. Now she is from a foundation contributing to there's just all these incredible amount of orphanages in Belarus and Ukraine of disfigured children. He's got no legs, or he's deformed, hands and legs rather. He said he carried me to school. He wants to be a doctor when he grows up. I would like to help kids, he says. You get all these disfigured children. Craig's like, no, nothing happened to him. There's something else happened to them. Chernobyl's Children Project in Ireland donates time and money to these victims. See this child here, totally disfigured. And the missus comes in, grabs him by the arm, just picks him up and tries to change his clothes. And the other lady there, that lady here, she almost had a heart attack. She was broken-hearted when she seen him. I'll show you some clips of it. So Craig's like, frig the children, they don't matter. Scum children, Craig says. And look at her. She grabs the child by the arm and picks the child up. Actually picks the child up. The lady tells her to put the child down. You can see now she's looking at the lady. This is really shocking, by the way. She's like, no, stop. Right, stop. Just stop. She's confused, right? And that's Elaine. She's retired from this. She can't do it no more. Such is life, eh? That's why I can't understand how anybody can keep up with this anyway, right? I do it because it's got to get done. Somebody got to keep the fire burning. And it's very discouraging to do the things I'm doing, right? It's very difficult to get any support. And you just run out of steam trying to be good. You just can't keep it up anymore. And so the lady here says he's never going to get any bigger. He's never going to grow up, as if to justify picking him up with one hand like he's a grocery bag or something. And then you got this baby Craig, born with a second head in Chernobyl. There's just endless orphanages like this, Craig. But Craig refuses. He's constantly spamming everybody's websites with saying there's nobody who got hurt, nobody died, nobody was ever injured. It is what it is, right? Like, I don't know how anybody can keep up with it anyway, right? I have to do it because I get it, right? There's nothing like... I'm not expecting the world to come and praise me or help me or anything else. You got to keep the fire burning if you're in that position. Japan sees record low numbers of babies born in 2019. So the estimated number of babies born in Japan this year dropped below 900,000 for the first time since in 120 years. Then you got scumbags like Craig out there. Show someone that died from Chernobyl. Looks like you can't show any deaths there either. Yet You know, when you think about closing 9,000 farms in Ireland, Scotland, UK, they should have closed all the farms. Many people died because you don't just die right away. Not everybody just gets cancer right away. And I'll just run through a handful of Chernobyl studies. The grazing economy of North Wales in the wake of Chernobyl, because it was radioactive after Chernobyl. Post-Chernobyl radiocesium exposure in the UK. Downward migration of cesium in Scotland. Organic soils across Scotland. Thyroid cancers in children and adults north of England because of Chernobyl. Food ingestion doses for NukeLiars after Chernobyl 10 years later. Columbia, UK. The transport of Chernobyl-derived radiocesium through 2 freshwater lakes in UK. Theft of the Chernobyl data. They stole the data after Chernobyl so you couldn't find out the truth. So people like Craig could lie to everybody. Chernobyl's dirty legacy lives on. Soil plant transfer of plutonium and americium contaminated regions of Belarus after Chernobyl. Thyroid cancers among children and adolescents of Belarus exposed to Chernobyl doses. Infant mortality after Chernobyl, Craig. Early infant mortality in West Germany before and after Chernobyl. The effects of Chernobyl explosion and induced abortions in Italy, Craig. Of course nobody died, Craig says. The influence of post-Chernobyl on birth defects and abortion rates in Austria, Craig. Concentrations of cesium in Italy and the wheat, Craig, after Chernobyl. Resuspension and redistribution of nuclides from the grasslands and forest fires in Chernobyl, Craig. Evaluation of fallout from Chernobyl accident in forest soils in the Alpine lakes in France. In Scandinavia, glaciers. In Monaco, Craig. In New York City, Craig. In Syria mountains, Craig. But there's so many of these Craigs out there. Resuspension around Chernobyl. Tropospheric, stratospheric distribution of radioactive iodine and cesium after Chernobyl. Doses from the Chernobyl accident to the Nordic population via diet intake. Great Lake fish radioactive. And Craig's like, nobody. See, he wants you to think that the only outcome of radiation is everybody dies. But there's around 1,800 illnesses and diseases will show up long before cancer shows up. And I can't do it on my own, see? I can't do it if people don't support me. I can't do it if people don't care. I can't do it because, like, you got to realize how lonely it is to do these things, right? How isolated you become and how much it takes on your life. And I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. I can't quit because then there'd be nobody left, right? And then the truth is a powerful thing, whether we see the results with our eyes or not. The truth has a way of finding its way out there. And so it's a humble thing that I do. It's a heartbreaking thing all day for me. I gather up all this information. And then at the end of the day, I do these little presentations because tomorrow is coming at me full steam ahead with just nothing but horror stories again from the lawyers. God bless everybody. Hugs for everybody. And thank you, everybody. That done the best you could. God bless.